Hi everyone. Welcome back to the channel. If you are preparing for finance operations interviews in companies like Accenture, Genpact, Infosys, Cognizant, Capgemini, Deloitte, EY, TCS, Wipro, or other MNCs, this video is for you. In this video, I'll cover real interview questions along with simple, practical answers and real-time examples based on day-to-day work. So, if you want to answer confidently in your next interview, let's get started. First question. Tell me about yourself. Answer. Hi, I'm Rahul. I completed my MBA in Finance after my BCom. Currently, I'm working as a Finance Operations Associate in the accounts payable process. My responsibilities include invoice processing, PO matching, resolving blocked invoices, vendor communication, and supporting payment activities. I also use SAP and Excel daily for transaction processing and reporting. I'm now looking for an opportunity where I can enhance my finance knowledge, work on global processes, and grow professionally. Tell me about your current finance operations role. Answer. I'm currently working in the accounts payable process. My daily responsibilities include processing vendor invoices, validating invoice details, performing PO matching, resolving invoice exceptions, responding to vendor emails, supporting payment runs, and preparing daily productivity reports. I also coordinate with procurement and business teams whenever approvals or corrections are required. Walk me through your day-to-day responsibilities. Answer. My day starts by checking pending invoices and priority emails. I process invoices received from vendors, verify invoice details, perform PO matching, resolve blocked invoices, follow up with internal teams for approvals, respond to vendor queries, prepare daily reports, and ensure all assigned work is completed within SLA. Which finance process are you currently handling? Answer. I'm currently handling the accounts payable process. My work mainly involves invoice processing, PO matching, invoice validation, handling blocked invoices, vendor communication, payment support, and month-end invoice completion. Explain the end-to-end process you are responsible for. Answer. In the accounts payable process, the vendor submits an invoice. I verify the invoice details such as vendor name, invoice number, PO number, tax details, and amount. Then I perform PO matching. If everything matches, I post the invoice in SAP. If there is any mismatch, the invoice gets blocked, and I coordinate with procurement or the business team to resolve it. After approval, the invoice is included in the payment run, payment is processed, and finally the transaction is completed. For example, one vendor submitted an invoice for 75,000, but the PO amount was 72,000. The invoice was blocked because of the price difference. I contacted the procurement team, they corrected the PO after confirming the revised price, and then I posted the invoice successfully. Why are you looking for a job change? Answer. I'm grateful to my current organization because I've gained good experience in finance operations. However, I'm looking for better career growth, exposure to global finance processes, learning opportunities, and the chance to take on more responsibilities. Why do you want to join our company? Answer. Your company has a strong reputation for finance operations and employee development. I believe I'll get exposure to international clients, advanced ERP systems, and opportunities to improve my skills while contributing to the organization. Why should we hire you? Answer. I have practical experience in accounts payable, good knowledge of SAP and Excel, and I'm comfortable working under deadlines. I focus on accuracy, learn quickly, and work well with cross-functional teams. I believe I can contribute positively to your finance team from day one. What are the KPIs and SLAs in your current role? Answer. The KPIs in my role include invoice processing accuracy, productivity, turnaround time, first pass yield, backlog management, and vendor query resolution. The SLAs focus on processing invoices within the agreed timeline, responding to vendor queries within the defined TAT, and maintaining high-quality standards with minimal errors. Which ERP systems have you worked on? Answer. I have worked on SAP for invoice processing and finance transactions. I use SAP daily to verify vendor details, process invoices, check document status, review payment information, and monitor blocked invoices. Along with SAP, I use Excel for preparing reports and analyzing finance data. 1. Which SAP T-codes or ERP transactions do you use most frequently? Answer. In my current role, I mainly use SAP for invoice processing, vendor account verification, document display, and payment-related activities. The exact T-codes depend on company authorization, but I regularly work with invoice posting, vendor master display, document display, and payment document verification. Example. If a vendor asks about payment status, I check the invoice document and payment document in SAP before responding. Note, if the interviewer asks specific T-codes and you've actually used them, mention only those. Never guess. What is your experience with Excel? Answer. I use Excel every day to prepare reports, track pending invoices, analyze data, and monitor team productivity. I'm comfortable working with large datasets and organizing information efficiently. Which Excel functions do you use daily? Answer. I regularly use pivot tables, lookup, xlook, if, sumifs, countif, filters, remove duplicates, conditional formatting, and basic formulas. These functions help me prepare reports and analyze finance data. Example. When preparing a pending invoice report, I use pivot tables to summarize invoices by vendor and lookup xlook to retrieve vendor details from the master file. Which reports do you prepare regularly? Answer. I prepare daily invoice processing reports, pending invoice reports, blocked invoice reports, productivity reports, aging reports, and SLA tracking reports. These reports are shared with my team lead or manager for daily monitoring. Walk me through the invoice processing cycle. Answer. The invoice processing cycle starts when the vendor submits an invoice. I verify vendor details, invoice number, PO number, tax details, and supporting documents. Then I perform the required matching. If everything is correct, I post the invoice in SAP. If there are any discrepancies, I coordinate with the concerned team to resolve them. Once approved, the invoice is included in the payment run. Example. A vendor submitted an invoice without mentioning the PO number. I contacted the vendor, obtained the correct PO details, verified the invoice, and processed it successfully. Explain the difference between two-way, three-way, and four-way matching. Answer. Two-way match, purchase order and invoice are matched. Three-way match, purchase order, goods receipt, and invoice are matched. Four-way match, purchase order, goods receipt, invoice, and quality inspection service acceptance are matched. Example. For office stationery purchases, usually a two-way or three-way match is followed. For machinery or specialized equipment, companies may use a four-way match where quality approval is also required. What causes an invoice to be blocked or fail validation? Answer. An invoice may be blocked due to price mismatch, quantity mismatch, missing goods receipt, incorrect PO number, duplicate invoice, incorrect tax calculation, missing approval, or vendor master issues. Example. I received an invoice before the warehouse posted the goods receipt. Since the GR was missing, the invoice was automatically blocked. Once the warehouse completed the GR, I verified the details and processed the invoice. How do you release a blocked invoice? Answer. First, I identify the reason for the block in SAP. Then I coordinate with the procurement team, warehouse, or business team to resolve the issue. After confirming that the discrepancy has been corrected, I verify the invoice again and release it for payment. Example. One invoice was blocked because the PO price hadn't been updated after a contract revision. After procurement updated the PO, I validated the invoice and released it successfully. How do you handle duplicate invoice payments? Answer. Before posting any invoice, I verify the invoice number, vendor code, invoice amount, and invoice date in SAP to ensure it hasn't already been processed. If I identify a duplicate invoice, I stop the processing and inform the vendor or the concerned team. Example. SAP displayed a duplicate invoice warning while I was posting an invoice. I checked the document history and confirmed that another team member had already processed it. I rejected the duplicate invoice and informed the vendor. How do you process a vendor invoice from receipt to payment? Answer. Once the invoice is received, I verify all invoice details, including vendor information, PO number, tax details, and supporting documents. I perform the required matching and post the invoice in SAP if everything is correct. If there's any issue, I coordinate with the relevant team for resolution. After approval, the invoice is included in the scheduled payment run, and once payment is made, I verify the payment status and close the transaction. Example. A vendor emailed an invoice for transportation services. I verified the PO, checked the tax details, posted the invoice in SAP, and it was included in the weekly payment run. After payment was completed, I confirmed the payment details and updated the vendor. How do you respond to vendor payment escalations? Answer. When a vendor contacts me about a delayed payment, I first check the invoice and payment status in SAP. If the payment is already scheduled, I inform the vendor about the expected payment date. If there's an issue, I identify the reason, coordinate with the concerned team, and provide regular updates until the issue is resolved. Example. A vendor called because payment was overdue. I checked SAP and found the invoice was blocked due to pending approval. I followed up with the approver, got it approved, and informed the vendor that payment would be included in the next payment run. Explain the complete order-to-cash process. Answer. The O2C process starts when a customer places an order. After order verification, the product or service is delivered, and an invoice is generated. The customer makes the payment is applied to the customer's account, and any disputes or deductions are resolved. Finally, the transaction is closed after reconciliation. How do you handle payment discrepancies or delayed customer payments? Answer. I first verify the invoice, payment details, and customer account. Then I identify the reason for the delay or discrepancy, contact the customer if required, and coordinate with the internal team to resolve the issue. I also document all communication for future reference. Example. A customer paid 95,000 instead of 1 lakh. I contacted the customer, who explained that 5,000 was deducted due to a damaged shipment. I forwarded the case to the dispute team for verification. How do you investigate unapplied cash or missing remittance advice? Answer. I verify the bank statement, payment amount, customer details, invoice references, and remittance information. If remittance advice is missing, I contact the customer to obtain the payment details before applying the cash correctly. Example. A payment was received without an invoice reference. I emailed the customer requesting the remittance advice. After receiving it, I applied the payment to the correct invoices. What KPIs do you track in accounts receivable? Answer. The common KPIs are days sales outstanding, collection efficiency, aging of receivables, unapplied cash, dispute resolution time, cash application accuracy, and overdue invoice percentage. How do you handle customer disputes or credit holds? Answer. I first understand the reason for the dispute by reviewing the invoice and supporting documents. Then I coordinate with the sales or customer service team to resolve the issue. If it's a credit hold, I verify the customer's outstanding balance and follow the company's approval process before releasing the hold. Example. A customer disputed an invoice because the billed quantity was incorrect. I coordinated with the sales team, verified the order details, and the corrected invoice was issued. What is the journal entry for the sale of a fixed asset? Answer. If the asset is sold for cash. Bank cash DR. Accumulated depreciation DR. To fixed asset CR. Profit on sale CR. Or loss on sale DR. Example. If a machine with a book value of 80,000 is sold for 90,000, the 10,000 difference is recorded as a profit on sale. What is the journal entry for a credit purchase? Answer. Journal entry. Purchase inventory DR. To accounts payable CR. Example. If we purchase office furniture worth 50,000 on credit. Furniture ACDR 50,000. To vendor ACCR 50,000. What is an accrual? Give a practical example. Answer. An accrual is recording an expense or revenue in the period in which it occurs, even if the payment or receipt happens later. Example. Our office received electricity services in March, but the invoice arrived in April. During March month-end closing, we recorded an accrual so that the expense was recognized in the correct accounting period. Walk me through your month-end closing activities. Answer. During month-end, I ensure all invoices are processed before the cutoff date, clear pending exceptions, support accrual entries if required, reconcile vendor accounts, prepare reports, and help complete the month-end close within the timeline. Example. At one month-end, around 60 invoices were pending because approvals were delayed. I coordinated with the approvers, cleared the pending invoices before the deadline, and helped the team complete the month-end closing on time. Tell me about a journal entry you posted recently. Answer. In my current role, I mainly support invoice processing, but I have exposure to journal entries during month-end activities. One recent entry was an accrual entry after verifying the supporting documents. Example. An internet service invoice for March was received in April. Since the expense belonged to March, we posted internet expense DR. Accrued expense CR. The accrual was reversed when the actual invoice was booked. Which balance sheet accounts have you reconciled? Answer. I have mainly supported reconciliation of vendor accounts, accounts payable balances, GRIR accounts, and bank-related transactions. During reconciliation, I compare ERP balances with supporting reports and investigate any differences. Example. While reconciling a vendor account, I noticed one invoice was missing from the vendor statement. After checking SAP, I found the invoice had been posted recently, but was not reflected in the latest statement. I confirmed this with the vendor and completed the reconciliation. Describe a reconciliation issue you identified and resolved. Answer. During reconciliation, I first compare balances from SAP with supporting reports or vendor statements. If I find a mismatch, I identify the root cause and coordinate with the relevant team to resolve it. Example. I found that one invoice had been posted with the wrong vendor code. After verifying the supporting documents, the incorrect entry was reversed and reposted under the correct vendor account. How do you ensure accuracy before posting financial transactions? Answer. Before posting any transaction, I verify the vendor details, invoice number, PO number, tax information, invoice amount, approval status, and supporting documents. I also check whether the invoice has already been processed to avoid duplicate postings. Example. Before posting an invoice, I noticed the GST amount was calculated incorrectly. I contacted the vendor, received the corrected invoice, and then processed it. What is EBITDA? Answer. EBITDA stands for earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. It measures a company's operating performance before considering financing costs, taxes, and non-cash expenses. It helps compare the operating profitability of different companies. What is the difference between budgeting and forecasting? Answer. Budgeting is the financial plan prepared before the financial year begins and generally remains fixed. Forecasting is updated during the year based on actual business performance and expected future changes. Example. For example, a company may budget sales of 10 crore at the beginning of the year. After 6 months, if actual sales are lower, the forecast is revised based on current market conditions. Describe a provision or accrual adjustment you processed recently. Answer. I have supported accrual adjustments during month-end closing to ensure expenses are recorded in the correct accounting period. Example. A housekeeping service was completed in March, but the invoice was received in April. We created an accrual entry in March and reversed it after the invoice was posted in April. What is accrued revenue? Answer. Accrued revenue is revenue that has been earned by providing goods or services, but the invoice has not yet been issued or the payment has not yet been received. Example. A consulting company completed services on 30th March, but raised the invoice in April. The revenue is recognized in March as accrued revenue. Explain the steps of revenue recognition. Answer. Revenue is recognized when the company satisfies its performance obligation by delivering goods or providing services. Generally, the steps are: 1. Identify the contract with the customer. 2. Identify the performance obligations. 3. Determine the transaction price. 4. Allocate the transaction price. 5. Recognize revenue when the obligation is fulfilled. Example. If a company delivers software to a customer on 25th March, revenue is recognized when the software is delivered, even if the payment is received later. Is closing stock part of the trial balance? Why or why not? Answer. It depends on the accounting system. If the closing stock adjustment has already been recorded, it appears in the trial balance. If the adjustment has not yet been passed, closing stock does not appear in the trial balance and is shown separately while preparing the financial statements. What reports do you prepare regularly, and who reviews them? Answer. I regularly prepare invoice processing reports, pending invoice reports, blocked invoice reports, productivity reports, aging reports, and SLA reports. These reports are reviewed by my team-led, manager, and sometimes the client during review meetings. Example. Every morning, I prepare a pending invoice report showing invoices nearing SLA. My team lead reviews it to prioritize work and ensure deadlines are met.